Hi, I'm Enchanting Nubianette. Welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome. Today I'm going to focus on a heart-wrenching, very devastating incident that happened to a child. So this is a trigger warning to anyone who is very sensitive to brutal information because this is one of the most brutal incidents that I have heard of. It's extremely unfortunate. On Monday, October 6th, Antavia Kennebrew, she posted a post, I believe, on Facebook stating that her 5-year-old daughter, Amarie, was physically and sexually assaulted by a group of other children and left unconscious and unresponsive on September 13th. Thankfully, this post has been shared. Her post has been shared for more than 100,000 times. It needs to be shared all over our country. In her post, the mother stated that her daughter, Amarie, had been staying at a trusted family member's home on the city's east side while she was undergoing a medical procedure. So again, the person that she left her daughter with was someone that she knew, someone that she felt was responsible and would take care of her child. Now, her post also stated that she got a call that her daughter had walked out of the house and could not be found. So the authorities were contacted. She also stated that Amarie was approached while she was out by, in quotes, a group of bigger kids around ages 8, 9, and 10 years old, end of quotes. These children, they took Amarie to a field where they harmed her physically, by wounding her, and also sexually assaulted her. YouTube family, this is an extreme case because these 8, 9, and 10-year-olds extremely cause harm to this child. The 5-year-old child, Amarie, she's autistic. Thankfully, she is verbal. And from what I hear on the news, one of the children may have been autistic as well. I'm not sure. But these children, they brutalized her daughter by biting her all over her body, biting her on her backside. They pulled out large amount of her hair. Her hair is very beautiful, as you can see in pictures. She has it in cornrows, various styles, very healthy, full hair. They managed to pull out the hair. You know how much extreme pain that is for your hair to be pulled out by its roots and the follicles, for that poor baby to go through that excruciating pain. I believe that dirt was put in her mouth as well, and she just had a horrible, horrible assault against her. And they used these sticks again in her private parts as well. Extremely heart wrenching. When her mother, Antavia Kennebrew, the mother, she received the call. She stated that she arrived to the scene and she was approached by an EMS truck, and she found her baby unconscious, bruised, with a lot of red fluid all over, in her eyes, all over her face, her body, everywhere. And this mother, she stated on her post that when the family member had been seeking her daughter, she ran into two of the children. And the family member asked if they had seen the little girl. And these little demons, they said no. So after the family member had returned home and they were waiting for the law enforcement to arrive, the same children returned with their mother. And thankfully, at that time, they said that they did know where the child was, according to the post. I believe, again, it was on Facebook. I'm not sure if that's a social media platform, but it was online. So they took the family member to the field where they found sweet Amarie. And the mother said that it was so horrific, the sight of her daughter, that she couldn't even recognize her daughter. She even has a large lump on her head as well. At first, the mother said that she did not wish to get the media involved, but she has done so because she was informed by law enforcement that the 8 and 9-year-old boys, would not be charged due to their age. Everyone, I'm not sure what the protocol is, with these crimes. I'm not in law enforcement, I'm not in the legal system, but at this age, even if there isn't anything in print or anything pertaining to the law of children, committing crimes, these lawyers and prosecutors must formulate, the sentencing and accountability for these young children. These children are not innocent. They're already criminals, unfortunately. My question is, where do these children, 8, 9, and 10 years old, learn to be so horrific and violate another child? What would cause them to do such extreme assault on another human being? 3 children, and not one of them could say, let's stop, let's not do this. They all had this mindset, I believe. It's really scary, frightening times. So, Antavia Kennebrew, she has reached out to the Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb's office, the Cleveland Metropolitan Bar Association, and many community members who have the expertise for their assistance. So, in response to an inquiry about this case, the Cleveland Police Sergeant Freddie Diaz confirmed this via email. In quotes, it says, the Cleveland Division of Police S Crimes and Child Abuse Unit is actively investigating a case involving multiple children under the age of 10. Well, one of them is 10, from what I gather with the different videos and news reports, both as victims and as suspects of the investigation. Given the sensitive nature of the matter, the release of further information at this time could jeopardize the integrity of the investigation and violate the constitutional rights and privacy of those involved. End of quotes. So, data on the Cleveland Division of Police Crime Incident Table, it shows the offenses that occurred in the mother's post at 4:23 p.m. That was on September 13th. So, mind you, YouTube family, this crime took place in September, not in October. It was basically released to the public just a few days ago. So, these are the crimes: assault, felonious assault, R word, S offenses, and multiple other offenses. So, the case number associated with these offenses also matches the one provided by Diaz. So, in addition, the county's prosecutor's office has confirmed that they are aware of the ongoing investigation. And it says, in quotes, we are aware of the incident. Our office has not yet received the case and no charging determinations has been made. End of quotes. Lexi Buer, communications manager at the, is it Cuyahoga? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The county prosecutor's office said, in quotes, this case is still under investigation by the Cleveland Division of Police. Once the case is submitted to our office, we will review it for criminal charges. End of quotes. And the former Ohio Attorney General Mark Dan said this case could be difficult to prosecute. I'm sure it is difficult to prosecute because it's not often that we hear of children with these in-depth, criminal mindset, this twisted mindset, and to cause nearly the unaliving of another individual. They meant for her to pass away, unfortunately. They left her there in that field after all the torture, or after all the harm to her, for her to pass away by herself. Thankfully, that child was coerced by their parent to speak up. So, the Attorney General McDan said in quotes, one of the things that's really difficult to wrestle with was whether an 8-year old, a 10-year-old, or any child has a mental capacity to form the plan to commit a crime like that. End of quotes, Dan said. Since the suspects are so young, the parents could be held responsible depending on what the investigators find. I back that. I support that. And I'm sure many of you would as well. If these young children are not able to have sentencing, they definitely need to have extreme counseling. I would say for years by experts to find out the root of this problem. What is happening in their homes? What are they seeing? It's not only television. What are they seeing for them to even act this out to someone else and not have a conscious of it? So it said, in quotes, if the parents of the children were negligent or they were careless or worse, involved in an abuse or overt sexual activity in their household, they certainly have the mental capacity to commit a crime, unlike the children, end of quotes, Dan said. So in the Facebook post, Antavia Cannabral stated, in quotes, it would be unjust if those responsible were to go unpunished, end of quotes. And of course, she thanked the public for their support. I am in support of this mother, as well as I'm sure all of you listeners are as well. This is horrific, and we definitely demand justice. Her daughter is now receiving therapy. From what I gather, looking at various articles, that her daughter actually spent an entire week in the hospital. An entire week in the hospital, everyone. And you could just imagine what the doctors had to, deal with regarding, the physical bites that she had all over the body, the bruising, her hair being pulled out, as well as, the recovery later on where she needs to get counseling because of the trauma. There will be a lot of post traumatic trauma. This little girl needs, of course, the love she has from her mother, other relatives, and the community to really support her. From what I know as well, yesterday they had a donation drive for Amarie, hashtag Justice for Amarie. It took place at a community center where you can actually drop off items. So I'm not sure if there are, more donation drives for her. I believe there will be. And of course, GoFundMe as well as various ways that we can all help and support this family in need. This is a reminder, YouTube family, that no child should be harmed. I don't know what happened, why little girl walked out. I don't know if this is a habit, but I do know that adults, we have to be very, very, very careful when we're taking care of children. We have to keep our eyes on them because the door should have been locked. She should have been in the company of an adult the entire time, because for them to have this act done on her, this crime done on her, this took some time. She was missing for a while. When you have children in your presence or responsibility, you have to really focus on them. So I don't know what happened. I'm hoping that there's a investigation regarding that too. I would never want that in my for me to have any child in my responsibility and this happens. This also forces us to confront the reality that when kids are involved in violence, it is often not a matter of individual choice. It's about so many, different systemic factors. What exposure of trauma did these children have? Were they being sexually abused in their home? the lack of proper guidance from parents, it's affecting all of us, you know? And this definitely leads children to really harmful paths, and in this case, criminal paths already. The children involved in this incident, they're facing serious consequences. So whatever, happened to them, they acted out on a little innocent child, Amarie, and now they have to face serious consequences as well as, hopefully their parents. And in the legal system, like in Ohio and in many states, there are set rules for handling minors who commit crimes. And I'm sure, whatever they have now on the books, they're going to create more. So when young people commit these violent acts, they really need to be charged with juvenile offenses. This is a severe case. This has a lot of factors. There's minors involved, yes, but it's the nature of the crime and the intent behind it. And they had both the 8, 9, and 10-year olds. As I said before, I think one of the assaulters may have been autistic. That's another issue as well. That's another um, mindset too. I don't know if the child was coerced, but, and also what stage of autism that child had. So this case is extremely severe. Um, the charges definitely could range from aggravated assault, felony charges. These minors, I don't know if it can go as far as them being charged as an adult because they are very young. But they definitely need to have, restorative justice. They need to have rehabilitation, thorough rehabilitation for several years. In my opinion, they need rehabilitation all the way up to adult age, all the way up to 21 years old, maybe even older, depending on, how much they can comprehend on, and also, how they interact with other people during that time of rehabilitation. This is such an extreme case. What kind of support systems, can be in place for these children? Everyone, please leave your thoughts in the comment. Let's support the family of Amarie, and I truly hope that Amarie gets the support, medical support, that she gets mental support for counseling. They get economical support as well. For Antavia Kennebrow, I'm definitely praying for you and your family members. It's so heart-wrenching that you had to go through this, and for any child to go through this. Please leave your comments below. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and share this information so we can prevent these crimes from happening, and we can also expose, any child who may be living in a situation where this is happening to them.